Welcome everyone to Just Onside. I'm your host Ahmed Badjo Baghdadi, and I am joined by, all the way from France, the man who believes Spurs are going to win the Champions League, Ayub Patel, and Mr. Ever-Present himself, Uwais Ahmed. How you doing, folks? Ayub, what's going on, mate? You're still in France?
I'm still in France, yeah. I've been here for 4 days. Really tired. Been working really, really hard. And it is actually true.
That was said with such little conviction.
No, I had to sort of, it's been a long 4 days, so quite tiring. Obviously, I had to miss. Did we record on Monday or Tuesday? Whatever day we recorded, I was very, very busy. I was with, I think Mars or Red Bull.
This is the second. This is the second time you've shot a podcast from when you were in France. It looks like it might even be the same hotel room. Was it the same?
I know hotel? It genuinely looks like the exact same room as last time.
Well, they do have all the rooms on the floor that I'm staying at the same. So, and I was positioned in this way because the window is there. So hopefully the lighting is okay.
Looking like a hostage video.
Yeah. Were you not able to accommodate? Were you not able to accommodate the private jet on the way home?
No chance. I mean, I'm traveling definitely economy class tomorrow. Not looking forward to that at all.
Good stuff.
Aye. But you've seen as though you're taking the reins here, mate. The first topic is for you. It's tailor-made for you. We've got Spurs, Liverpool this weekend. Liverpool unbeaten this season. I know you're convinced that they're going to be title challengers, but realistically, can they keep this up? Can they keep this pace up? Can they keep it going? Spurs is going to be some test for them, and vice versa for Spurs. It's going to be huge test going against Liverpool. What do you think of Liverpool's chances this season? Can they keep this up and challenge?
Absolutely. I said it at the start of the season. I called them to be the champions. There's nothing that makes me doubt that what I predicted at the start of the season is not going to come true. In fact, I'm much more convinced now than I was at the start of the season because they are a much better side. I mean, they're a much better side than they have been for a number of years. They've been in this position before, so obviously it's something that they know how to compete at this when they're at the top. When they're competing for the title, they know what to do. So I see absolutely no reason. They've got players who are playing excellently well. Szoboszlai he's getting better and better. I think he's a player that is exciting, not just Liverpool fans, but other fans as well. So I see no reason. It's going to be a tough game, I think, against the Spurs. Probably the toughest.
Who you tipped to win the Champions League, yeah?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I've the amount of abuse I've got for that. Rightly so.
Rightly so. I mean, you're not getting any sympathy.
I did have
mate.
to sort of check who's in the Premier League before I made any comments today. So it's going to be the toughest game that they have. Two teams playing extremely well at the top of their form, so it's going to be a really, really exciting battle. But it's going to be a Liverpool win. Honestly, I see it as a Liverpool win. They're not going to lose any pace. They're not going to because I think they're a much better side now than they have been over the last 3 or 4 years. They've got lots of cover. So for me, absolutely no problem. So I think they are definitely going to be there or thereabouts. In my opinion, they'll win the league. And I'll be surprised if they don't.
Up to this point, Ayub, who do you think's been more impressive, Man City or Liverpool?
Man City, I'll be Man City. That's it. You expect Man City to do exactly what they're doing. Obviously, the key games when they play each other, and maybe I suppose some of the bigger teams. But Liverpool have been impressive. I think they started solidly, but I think as each week goes by, they're getting better. And I think all the players are gelling extremely well, very quickly. And I think that was a concern maybe with some fans that maybe it might just take a little while before the players gel, but they've gelled so quickly. And they're almost ahead of schedule. So Liverpool for me, not going to struggle at all.
What, as in this weekend? Any predictions?
It's going to be close. It's not going to be an easy victory, but I probably think 2-1 Liverpool.
Interesting, because I think you're right. I posed the question, wasn't it, last time when I said to to the pair of you about whether Arsenal Spurs was the best derby, and I think in some ways, entertainment wise, it probably is. I think just in terms of always seems never fails to disappoint that derby with some drama, controversy, and moments. And I think this is another game I think that often lives up to the hype and to the build up. Spurs Liverpool. You remember last season when Liverpool beat they did the double over Spurs last year, but you'll remember famously the Anfield game after the comeback from Spurs and then Jota scoring the winner, if memory serves. And I think Badge, that was the game when
immediately.
Yeah, immediately, exactly. I think that was the game, Badge, wasn't it, when Klopp pulled the hamstring? I think it was when he went running up to the fourth official. I think it was, if my memory serves correctly. But this is another game, you're right, Ayub, one that you normally kind of pencil into to watch. Always two good, historically speaking, always two good, entertaining teams. And I think this season they've both started incredibly well. Spurs obviously unbeaten as well. So it'll be interesting to see how they fare. I am leaning slightly towards Liverpool, only because I think, I mean, it's probably a little harsh on Spurs because their firepower looks just as deadly. But I think Liverpool, perhaps just with that additional options from the bench, just gives me a little bit more confidence that they have the tools. But listen, it could go either way. And another big test for Spurs, they've passed everyone so far. They've beaten Manchester United at home, big recovery against Sheffield United at home, and they looked like that game was slipping away, and then a big draw away to their North London rivals. So really interesting to see how Spurs fare. Just a couple of statistics. Spurs top of shots so far in the Premier League, Liverpool fourth. So that should be, again, testament to how both teams are playing right now. Spurs also bottom of the league with regards to long balls. And I don't know if you've seen some of the YouTube shorts or what have you of Ange Postecoglou shouting on the sidelines, but yeah, just interesting to observe. I mean, that might be also, not sure who they're playing it up to with that front line, but even still, just interesting to see that they are really committing to kind of playing through the thirds and not so much playing so direct. So that's interesting. But Liverpool, top of big chances created. And that's where I just think through balls, big chances created, quite high in those statistics. And I think just when you watch Liverpool this season, they just look like a team that's just got a lot of firepower. And they've been nursing, obviously, the absence of Trent Alexander-Arnold right now. Ayub rightly mentioned they've just got a bit more depth and a bit more options, a bit more cover and quality. Szoboszlai slowly but surely making a really big, good name for himself in terms of as a debut season. Early doors, but really good early impressions from him. Fantastic goal yesterday in the League Cup. So, yeah, I think Liverpool I might perhaps answer in the second stanza, but I think as far as Liverpool fans go, in terms of the season they had last year, and how this one is shaping up to be, I think it's probably everything they could have hoped for and then some, with perhaps still some room for improvement. But offensively, they look like a potent force to me.
No, and this is one of the things I always say to the lads. Like they're a team, especially for, you'd say, the teams outside of the top six, say, or top seven, top eight, whatever you want to call it. They will overpower most teams just purely because of the firepower they have. They would not even have to be at their best because they've got so many options in that attacking third where any of them can pop up with a goal or an assist, just a game-changing moment. You're talking Salah, Jota, Nunes, Gakpo, Diaz, Szoboszlai. It just the list goes on and on. So they've got all the options, they've got all the firepower. I still, even though in fairness to them, I think they've only conceded like 5 goals, something like that this season
5 goals
in the league. Yeah. I still feel like there are fragilities in their defense. They can be got at. 2 of their wins this season, the Newcastle one, it was a testament to them that they could even come back on that in that game. But realistically, they should have lost that game. Newcastle will be kicking themselves for not winning that game. And I think same, funnily enough, goes for that Wolves game. The Wolves game, Wolves had their chances to put that game to bed when they went 1 up, and they had their chances to put that game to bed, but again, didn't take them. And I was saying to one of my friends who's a Liverpool fan at the time as well, I go, you are just gonna end up overpowering these guys. It's just gonna be an overload in your attack, and you will get your goals because they will succumb to it eventually. And it's what happened. And I feel like that is going to be the case in a lot of games this season, where a lot of the mid to lower table sides just aren't going to be able to keep their attack out, whatever happens. But I think with Spurs, this is going to be a very interesting test for Liverpool, because I genuinely feel like there are fragilities in their defense. Their centre backs, Trent, not fully fit, shall we say? So it'll be interesting. I do think Spurs go there and score. I'll be surprised if Spurs don't come away from Anfield having scored any goals. It's a tight game. It's a tight affair. But Liverpool, man, they're doing all the right things at the moment. I don't think they'll be title contenders only because of the aforementioned my issues with their defense. But I mean, I feel like they will be comfortably in that top
But
4 or 5.
But would you agree, Badge, that and I agree with you to some extent, and I think most honest Liverpool observers would say the truth. You mentioned the Wolves game, yeah? You can't have first halves like that consistently. That can't be a steady diet. Newcastle again, down to 10 men, getting pummeled. That was again testament to their mentality and character, incredible. And even early doors 0-0 against West Ham. Definitely could have gone a goal down if Antonio takes his opportunities. Good save by Alisson. So the question I have is, are you comparing them in terms of the excellence of what Man City have put forth? Because as I see it in terms of the rest of the teams, yes, Brighton aside, and it sounds a bit disrespectful when we say that, because why can't Brighton keep this up? But just in terms of the so-called big teams, don't you think they are probably the best of the rest at this point?
I wouldn't say they're the best of the rest just yet. I feel like Arsenal will still be there, even given some of the issues Arsenal have had and shown.
As it stands.
I put them on par, to be honest. I know in the league, obviously, league table they got 2 points more, but if you're talking realistic challenges, I'd probably put them on par. I think the benefit that they may have is the fact they're in the Europa League, so I think Klopp will rotate his squad enough that it shouldn't affect them too much in the league. Although you have that Thursday, Sunday schedule, which isn't great. When I say I don't think they'll be title contenders, they will be up there, but I just think they won't have enough to keep up with City eventually, because I think City they've won every game, right?
Yeah,
and they're nowhere near their best yet. So I think once they get into gear, I feel like no one's going to keep up with them again, unfortunately. Well, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on who you are, I guess. But yeah, that's where I think Liverpool are. They're doing a lot better this season than I thought they'd be doing. But yeah, their signings are coming good. So against Basilei, midweek scored an absolute rocket again for Liverpool. But his all-around game has looked good. I think each of the forwards is showing a kind of desire to start. You've got all of them chipping in with goals and assists. So the competition's healthy. Again, it's just defense for me. I think Van Dijk's not the Van Dijk he was previous years. Matip's same again with him is similar to Van Dijk. I think there's definitely been a drop off there with those two. And Gomez at right back, always susceptible. I just don't think they're as resolute as they were. And we still have that midfield dynamic where at the moment, again, the overpowering teams, that midfield's not being tested as much, but there's still a slight imbalance there. I don't think he knows what his best midfield is yet. The options are there, I guess.
Yeah, I think he wants to settle with Gravenberch, I think, in the end, with Gravenberch, McAllister, and Szoboszlai. And I think once they settle. But you mentioned, obviously, you have them. We're going to be discussing it later on anyway. But I guess you have, is it for you just between them and City? And I guess you do expect City to push them all the way. You think it's going to be one of those kind of historic.
Did you just say City will push Liverpool?
It's because we know what Ayub's prediction is for the title. But no, I'm just asking, do you think it's going to be one of those historic kind of last 3 or 4 games, both games televised, that type of drama and kind of storyline? Is that what you expect, that these two kind of produce one of those races once more.
I don't think it's going to be a 2-horse race this time. Seriously, I've got a feeling that maybe there's going to be 3 or 4 teams involved. And when we do our predictions, it will probably be it's going to be the games that they play each other. Those are going to be the defining games. Because I think you talked about Liverpool. I mean, I almost sort of flip it round, where the games that you talked about. I mean, Baz, you talked about it as well. Wolves on another day, Wolves could have won, should have won. Same with Newcastle. On another day, they should have won. In fact, on any given day, they should have won. But there's a resilience shown, and it's sometimes games like that and results like that that perhaps convince me even further that maybe it is their time. Because against Newcastle, there is absolutely no way, against a decent side at St James's, there is absolutely no way that Liverpool should have won, given the predicament they were in. Against Wolves as well. It should have been 2-0. Is it Cunha who sort of missed that?
That is Cunha.
That goes in. It's a completely different ball game. I think Liverpool perhaps might have pulled it back to 2-2. They wouldn't have won the game. I just think there's something about Liverpool. Offensively, I would actually go as far as saying there is no better team in the world with a better array of riches up front. I think midfield as well. I think they are so much better than they've ever been. You're absolutely right, Badge. Defense is a little bit shaky, but I've just got a feeling that maybe if you've got the attacking prowess that they have, the midfield, it's going to just get better and better. I think really at the moment they're playing well. I think give them a few more weeks and they'll be really sort of playing, I think, to a much higher standard. And when they're playing to that higher standard, you can probably afford to have a slightly iffy defense.
But defense is what wins you titles, man. Whoever's top dogs in defense is always going to come out on top.
Yeah, there's something.
Got to pull the ball in the back of the net as well.
There's something Badge said, which is a good point about the Wolves game. If you remember, Badge against Wolves, they brought on Nunes and Diaz immediately after they equalised. If you remember, at least they brought one of them on. I think maybe even both of them on. If you remember, Gakpo scores at the far post. He actually gets substituted straight away. And I agree with you. I think as games are kind of pushing on into that kind of 60, 65, 70th minute mark, and then the ability to bring on a Nunes or a Diaz or whatever it may be, or at least when they've got them all available, even a Harvey Elliott, just in terms of just being able to change that kind of and not lose too much in terms of quality. And then Diaz and Nunes are very different, aren't they? A bit more direct and vertical, and just a pair of them against Wolves created 1 or 2 situations just themselves. I agree with you. I think just, you know, how you were speaking to your friend, I think that they're gonna be able to break teams around that kind of mark, just as kind of tiredness kicks in, especially the different variation in pace that they've got up front. You've got Gakpo dropping in, Jota, who's quite clever, Salah, what can we say? But then Diaz, Nunes, quite direct. You know, so there's a nice little variation and a mixture to their talents. I think the only thing I would say to Ayub about those games convincing you even more that Liverpool will challenge for the title, I think the worry would be you've already got 2 or 3 of those already. You've only played 6 games. Like if you have that consistently, the law of averages will normally play out. Newcastle was a once in a century type result, you know, in terms of just the way it went about. You're not going to pull off too many of those. Nor would I expect any other team to pull off too many of those, to be fair. So you get that one great, fantastic, 2 great finishes. But I just think you can't. They've only kept 1 clean sheet so far in 6. They're gonna have to start, you know, keeping a few more clean sheets and being a bit more steady and a bit more solid at the back. Not saying it can't come, still early doors, but it's hard to see that when the other team's creating just as many gilt edge opportunities, those aren't gonna just average out at some point, and when the margins are so tight, when this Man City team's giving you nothing, like a little run of like 2 or 3 bad days and like you're 10 points behind. So I think that's going to be the challenge. I think they'll improve. And I do have them slightly as the best of the rest for the time being, but I still see City as the class of the league so far.
Oh yeah, for sure. And now that the transfer window's ended, chaps,
can we have quick predictions
for what?
For the game? Well, I said Liverpool will just edge it. It's a big one, isn't it? It's by the way, it's at Spurs, so Liverpool are away. So I'm gonna go both teams to score. And Liverpool like this result so far this season. They do like a 3-1, so I'll go with a 3-1.
Now, what did you say, Ayub?
2-1.
2-1 to Liverpool, yeah?
Yeah.
He's got to. Will
I
Badge
thought
be-
I thought it was at Anfield. So I was going to say Liverpool
Yeah.
win, but because if it's at Spurs Stadium, I'll go with a nice round Desmond. Let's go with a
2-2.
Desmond.
Oh,
Yeah,
2-2. Okay. Good
yeah,
stuff.
I'm gonna go with a Desmond. Although, yeah, they do love a 3-1, don't they, Liverpool?
Yep, they do.
My goodness. But yeah, transfer windows ended, chaps. So now the squads they are where they are. We can make better judgment calls, I guess, on who we think. Well, our final predictions for top 4 and a relegation. Relegation. I feel like we'll start with that because I feel like that'll be quite swift, to be honest. If you want to go ahead and give us your relegation candidates.
It's I don't know, a battle at the for the bottom 2, isn't it? Really, at the moment, Sheffield United and Luton. But I've said it from the start of the season: Luton bottom, rock bottom, with less than 10 points. Then it will be Sheffield United, and then I'm hoping it's Bournemouth.
You can't say hope.
I'm saying Bournemouth.
Why Bournemouth?
It's not football. It is a football reason because it's because of what they've done to Leeds.
But you're saying you want them to go down, or you think
I want them to go? I want them to go down. So with Luton, Bournemouth as well. So Bournemouth fans, bring it on.
Wait, you need to elaborate on this. What they've done to Leeds.
It's simply, I mean,
if the word Sinistera comes out of your mouth.
Yeah.
I mean, it is,
Sinistera. There's Adams as well. And the coach as well, because it was a coach that we were courting, but then he decided to go to Bournemouth. And Adams and Sinistera, they were absolutely desperate for Premier League football. So what would be more sweeter than Bournemouth getting relegated and hopefully Leeds getting promoted?
Honest to God, but Badge, we're not letting him get away with this. You remember when I was fighting for Gary O'Neill's honour? What did he say? Oh, Bournemouth are being quite proactive. But Bournemouth are being quite proactive. This is the right decision to get Iraola in. And I was like, well, you can't say it's a good decision. You can say let's wait and see, but it's not a good decision. And now, just a couple of months later, he's predicting them to go down, which is something Gary O'Neill.
Once they started interfering with Leeds United Football Club and nicking our players, it's got personal.
And Max Aarons as well, if I'm not mistaken. Right?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. I forgot about that as well.
Yeah, the Max Aarons one.
Hey,
yeah, I mean,
it's not like they left you high and dry. They give you Jadon Anthony, so
and he scored a fantastic goal as well at the weekend. I'd advise all our viewers to have a look at that. It's a really good goal.
We don't talk about championship here.
Yeah, bugger.
Who is your relegation candidates?
So yeah, my prediction, and the reason why we want to do this segment is we were always planning once the transfer window ended. We just never got a chance to do it. But now, kind of putting it in place after the transfer windows ended, I think Luton, they obviously didn't recruit as much as well as we thought. They got a point at the weekend. Good for them. And Sheffield United, obviously, brutal defeat. I do expect Luton to finish bottom, Sheffield United to finish 19th, just because I saw enough even in that Spurs game that I think they'll muster a few wins, although their head-to-head games will be probably big as well. It hurts me, but for the time being, I'm going to have to go with Burnley. I say for the time being, I have to go with Burnley.
Wait, why
is it hurt? Yeah, I'm intrigued.
Again, I've got a soft spot for Vincent Kompany, second greatest centre-back in the history of the game. And listen, I like.
Is that where you put him?
Yeah, I put him second.
Sorry, that was really loud.
Yeah, I put Rio third. I put Vincent Kompany second, and obviously John Terry first. But anyway, we digress. You just chose it at the drop of a hat. Vidic Ferdinand. Anyway, so and Ayub for Yap Stam after 3 years in the Premier League. Anyway, but no, I'm going to go for Burnley for all the reasons, Badge, we discussed because of their weekend performance. I mean, they're a nice team, but I'm not sure they're going to be as... I mean, there's a few other candidates as well. I'm just not sure if they've got enough goals, enough consistency to be able to get enough points together. And they've already had a few games where they should have picked up a few things. So, yeah, I see them as the third worst team in the league for the time being, unfortunately.
You thought Kompany was better than Ferdinand. What the hell is wrong with you?
You weren't this upset at the time. If memory serves,
I feel offended. I genuinely feel offended. Do
you want me to give you the reasons again?
No, I don't even care. I don't even care because it's wrong. Yeah, what goes up must come down. So see you later, Luton. See you later, Sheffield United. See you later, Burnley. I think that's that's how I see it. Because I genuinely, with Everton, if Calvert-Lewin can even stay fit for a couple of months, still get enough goals, stay up. Wolves have shown enough under Gary O'Neill to show that they will stay up. Bournemouth, again, I think with Solanke and a few others, have got enough in there to get them goals. Burnley, see, they played us as being United. They had played some decent football, but at the end of the day, they just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net, and that is going to be their problem going forward. So I don't see him surviving, to be honest. I think early on everyone was lost in all of the excitement of Vincent Kompany and how he had him playing in the Championship. But as Ayub knows very well, Championship, Premiership, Premier League, different ball game altogether. So
but their football between the thirds is not bad, is it, Badge?
No, it really isn't.
They're a competent team. They're gonna. I feel like they may fall short of the normal reasons why these teams fail, which is just not enough quality at in the back, kind of the last third and the final third and what have you. Whereas Luton, Sheffield United just look bereft of quality. As in that's a very different storyline, at least in my eyes. So. Let's see, but it'll be interesting to see if Burnley, if they are in with a sniff come January, whether they go aggressive with their ownership.
They need
all
to.
Of that.
They need to, because genuinely they do play. It's not like how I've branded them in the past as anti-football. And when they were, under Sean Dyche, and they had that particular brand of football, but it worked for them for quite a while. But this Burnley team actually plays good football, but in the final third, it's all a bit too cutesy. Everyone wants to come to fee. Everyone's exactly. like you said. So I think unless they strengthen considerably and get someone somewhat proven to get the ball in the back of the net, I don't see them surviving. But
just to reiterate, Badge, if in the event, and I don't know how this season's going to go, maybe both managers don't see it through till the end, but if on the off chance that Wolves stay up and Bournemouth go down, we will be leading off with that on the show for obvious reasons, because I keep receipts, Ayub. When you were making the argument that that was a great decision, I'll be keeping an eye on
that. But yeah, top four, gents. Top four. Wait, hold on. This season, right, where the new format of Champions League starts?
You were the one who confirmed it. You confirmed
it. I'm sure it is. This app's.
Well, I've got a top five anyway, so
go on, hit us.
Let's go from fifth to top, and again, having looked at the summer transfer window and a few early injuries and a few what have you, this is how I see it. I see Newcastle finishing fifth. I think the way I see Newcastle is I think they might struggle in some of the bigger games. I say struggle. I just mean struggle to get enough points in some of those bigger games. I think they'll be fine from performances wise, but I'm just not sure. I think some of the big teams could turn them over in some of the games. I don't know but I think they'll win a lot of the other games to some extent, because their consistency of performance generally is on the whole, as in they have a uniform style of playing, which wins them a lot of those kind of middling games, so to speak. So I think they'll finish fifth. I have United finishing fourth, as much as they look a little shaky. I did point out last time that they had 4 decent winnable games to get them back on track. They've won the first of those. I feel confident that they'll have a very good chance of winning the next 3, and then all of a sudden things look a little rosier at Old Trafford. So there's that. I have Arsenal finishing third. Previously, I had predicted them to win the title, but a couple of things that I've seen there afterwards, not least the Timber injury out for the season. He would have given them some serious solidity at the back. I think if you're going to win titles, as Badge said, it's all about the defenses in the end, especially when the margins are so tight. So I just think Timber's injury, I've already seen what it looks like now with Xhaka gone. The fact that the balance isn't just quite there. They've obviously got a couple of critical injuries right now, which they need to cope with. So I have them finishing third, just simply because they're conceding too many opportunities. I have Liverpool just finishing second. I think everything that I've seen tells me that they are slightly the best of the rest just because of what Badge mentioned. I think they'll overpower some teams. Good chance to score most goals in the Premier League so far. I think Brighton are top so far. I think Badge with 18 goals, but I think Liverpool could just nick that at the end. Too much firepower. And I have City because ultimately the most obvious answer is normally the answer. And honestly, they have the most consistent style. I've said it over and over again. It's just that over 38 games, they don't really concede too many opportunities. They look like they dominate every game and they're looking like creating chances. I know they lost yesterday in the League Cup, but they were absolutely dominant in that first half with Haaland on the bench. So, yeah, bit unlucky probably to get bounced out of the Carabao Cup, but league-wise, where they take it seriously, they've been coping with De Bruyne's injury. I just think over 38 games, I've not seen anything. They'd have to get, I think they'd have to get a big injury at the back or maybe a Haaland injury where I'd have to reconsider. But they just look too consistent. The style's too ingrained. It's too comfortable for them. They dominate every game. And it's not just dominating. They create lots of good opportunities, not just normal chances. And Doku's been an absolute star so far. So I think City, just because they don't really have too many weaknesses, whereas with the others, I can always point to one or two things over the course of 38 games that normally bears out. So City, Liverpool, Arsenal, United, Newcastle, and I'll stick with my prediction that Spurs will finish 6th.
Interesting. Very, very, very interesting. Wait, what did you say? City, Liverpool, Arsenal. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yep, got you. So, wow, so Arsenal dropped 2 spots. Very interesting, mate. So at the start of the season, you were just convinced by Declan Rice, isn't it?
No. Come on. I had City finishing 3rd, but I did say it's going to be a bunched up title race, as you mentioned earlier in the first segment. No, I think I'm very interested to see, like I said, what the separation of points is between. And it might be quite high if City end up with 38 wins, but let's see. But yeah, I expect it to be a little bit bunched. Come game week 25, 26, heading into those big games.
I agree with that. I think it will be. I certainly do think it's going to be a lot tighter than it has been. 5th, Brighton, for me. What can you say? They are an exceptionally talented side led by a really, really world-class manager. So 5th for me, Brighton.
You think with them having Europe now as well, you think they'd be able to balance that in their first season? To end 5th.
I think yes. I mean, it's going to be interesting. You make a really valid point. It's something that perhaps, unless you've gone through it, you don't realize how challenging it can be. But I still think that with De Zerbi and the way that Brighton play, I think they've just got enough to be 5th. 4th, the Arsenal. 3rd, Tottenham. 2nd, Man City, and 1st, Liverpool. But it's going to be quite tight. I really do think that the top 4 is perhaps not going to be.
I'm waiting for Chelsea, but go on.
Forget Chelsea. Don't even go there. Don't even go there.
I thought they were back.
Did I say that?
Your very words.
No chance. I think now that, but we did say, you did say that obviously we're going to wait until the transfer window is open. Thankfully, it gave me an opportunity to readdress that because my goodness me, I have been surprised by Chelsea, and I still have a feeling that come the end of the season that Poch might not be Chelsea manager.
Oh yeah. So if this keeps up, he's not going to be manager for the turn of the year. But I don't think he'll go that soon. I don't think he'll go that soon, just for the record.
That's a short. We'll cut out the end bit.
Yeah. I've got it as Newcastle 5th, Man United 4th, which I'm not happy about. But given the way we've started the season, I don't see us going any further than that. This is a toss-up. I still think it'll be Liverpool 3rd, Arsenal 2nd, Man City 1st. I do think Arsenal will still got ways to go in improving their game. I just feel like if Arsenal can land, they have to go for a striker, right? In Jan, they have to. I mean, they have to. if they're gonna hit another level and get closer to City, they need a striker. In my opinion, they have to. If they're being serious about it, Tony is obviously an option, but again, he's not played any games for months and months. So it'll be interesting to see if he can just turn it on straight away. And there's unrest at Napoli with Osimhen, but that would take some serious bucks. But I think genuinely, I'm going off the possibility they sign a striker in Jan, and if they do, I think they'll be the closest competitors to City.
I think the concern there is, honestly, I'm not sure they'll be in striking distance. So I take your point, but if City continue as they are, Arsenal have got injuries right now, away to Bournemouth and home to City. I'm telling you now, they will lose to Man City regardless of who they have out there on the pitch. So all of a sudden, you're already potentially 7, 8, 10 points behind. And I just wonder, I mean, this Man City team.
But this is what I mean. I don't think anyone's going to compete with them, but I just think they'll be the closest.
Yeah, well, they might be closest to fifth, not necessarily.
Yeah, genuinely.
Closest
right.
to first. What you have City winning the title badge? How many points? I think they finished with 89 last year after, let's say, taking it easy in the last 3 or 4 games. I say taking it easy, but what do you think they'll amass as a points total? Somewhere in the early 90s?
Similar or early 90s, yeah. It won't be too far off that, in my opinion. Because they've won every game so far. They've been good. They've not been unbelievable as they've been in the past.
Erling Haaland's got 8 goals, I think, in the league. He should have about 14.
Yeah, I think he's missed about 7, 8, 9 big chances, something like that.
He's missed some
sitters, absolute sitters. But yeah, there we are. I think Tottenham. If Tottenham can stay fit, if their team can stay fit all season, no injuries, nothing like that, and they can make a clean run, then we're talking they'll be top 5 potentially. But I think a few injuries to a few key men there, and I just don't see the squad depth for Tottenham to raise them back into that top 5 piece. I could be wrong. United may not even make that, but you never know. For me, to be fair, it's a toss-up between United and Newcastle, who finishes 4th and 5th. I just think with Newcastle, it'll be interesting to see how far they get in the Champions League, whether they progress out of the groups, and if they do, how they juggle their squad. Because once injuries hit, I think Eddie Howe will have to learn how to utilize the squad and how best to use each player. So I think there's learning curves for them, and that's why I had them at 5th. United is just post-start already 9 points behind City. I mean,
the thing about United, which will be interesting, is how they perform. You remember last year, all the talk about away at the big grounds. Well, they've already failed that test this year so far. Yeah. And they lost at home to Brighton. So they've lost all the teams that you would argue are their contemporaries, right? And they've lost all 3 games. The question will be, how do they fare against, at the Etihad, at Anfield, at St. James's, and some of those games? So their record isn't great, generally away at big grounds. If they can turn some of those around, that'll give them a great chance. But if they don't, then you're right, they probably are going to be where you suggested.
Yeah. I mean, that record is absolutely shoddy, and it needs improving massively with any shout of being in the top 4 really this season, because the other teams are fairly strong and look to be playing the better football at current. So it'll be interesting, but that's where we're at. That's where we're at with that. Any other thoughts, gents, before I wrap this one up?
No.
Clearly not.
No, not really.
Nothing more to be said. Liverpool will win the league.
Yeah. What's just happened in your room? How's it got so dark?
Well, he's 1 hour ahead. Let's not forget.
It's looking Blade Runner-esque in there.
It is. That's why I was sort of thinking. I'm looking at the clock. I'm thinking we need to get a wriggle on. The sun is setting. In fact,
no
it's set now.
Right, that will wrap up this episode of Just Onside, ladies and gents. Remember to like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Leave a comment down below who you think will be in the top 4 or top 5 even, and who you think's going down. Although that might get muddy. But yeah, follow us on our Twitter account, Just Onside Pod. And that's been it, gents. Ayub, thank you for joining us from France. We appreciate it. And Wes, as always, remember, guys, we will be back next week around Monday or Tuesday with a round. I'm sure there's. Ayub, I keep thinking you've frozen, man. Just keep moving, bro. It's so jarring. It's so jarring.
You're the opposite. I'm the counter sort of balance to you. You're all over the place.
Yeah, I'm always moving. You're like, I'm just actually frozen. Sorry, guys. Anyways, we will be back next week with another episode of Just Onside. In the meantime, don't be afraid.